This is a very important week for me. It is the final week of the Rugby World Cup 2011, and indeed for many, sport is a passion. Modern sports fans number in the thousands, if not the millions. It is probably one of the most modern of obsessions, and can sometimes lead to some very questionable personal values. But it is thought that sport is as old as humanity. It promotes health and also a mastery of ourselves in the physical world. Around 2000 years ago in ancient Egypt, many monuments betray a passion for sport, while well aware that they knew about the benefits of exercise and sports. Sports ranged from hunting, chariot racing, and archery to more conventional means of exercise, such as wrestling and throwing javelins. Ancient Egyptians also competed in the high jump and competitive fishing. Around about the same time, on the other side of the world, in Mesoamerica, the Mayans were playing what is imaginatively called the Mesoamerican ball game. The exact nature of this game is not clear. However, it is very clear that it played an important role in society. Indeed, it is likely to have had a symbolic role, with players being well respected. We know the object of the game was to get a ball through a hoop on the side of the court, and it is believed by some that they were playing for the right, the honour, to be sacrificed to the gods. The island of Ireland has a proud heritage of competitive sports, and for some this heritage dates directly back to the Iron Age. This was a time of close-knit communities living in roundhouses, farming the land, and for some the origins of the game of hurling. This fast-paced, ferocious game is first mentioned in a text dating to around 500 AD, and anecdotally dates back to 1200 BC. Whatever the case, the sport is still very popular today. Think of the Romans, and we almost immediately think of gladiators and other blood sports, chariot racing on great courses, such as the Circo Massimo or the Circus Maximus in Rome. It may surprise you, however, to learn of the Roman sport of harpaistum. This ball game played very similarly to modern rugby, with a slight element of violence and a ball, and even more impressively, women were allowed to take part. Some of the earliest evidence for sport comes from 2000 years BC in China. It is entirely likely that China invented football in the form of kuzhu, and around 200 BC they were playing jiju, a game very similar to horseback polo, and of course other pursuits such as archery. However, the origins of polo are actually found in what is now Iran. Around about the 5th century BC, people were playing essentially polo on horseback, as well as jousting. Of course, what tour of ancient world sport would be complete without a visit to ancient Greece? They are famous for the Olympic Games, which had their origin around 776 BC. The selection of events in the ancient Olympics were more limited than today, but included track running, chariot racing, discus and javelin hurling, and the athletes themselves were thought to be so virile and beautiful that married women were not allowed to attend the games. The latter first millennium AD in northern Europe saw the spread of Vikings across the known world, and they liked nothing more than a good game of tug-of-war. However, this version was played across a roaring fire. For the losing team, rope burn was the least of their worries. Medieval Europe was awash with a range of sports and traditions. In England, for example, Shrove Tuesday saw Shrovetide football. This often violent, relatively rule-free game saw different villages competing for a leather or pig's bladder ball. The game continues today in some parts of England. For the aristocracy, however, jousting, horse racing and war games were an excellent way to practice fighting in times of peace. However, this did not significantly lessen the odds of death occurring. So, it seems we have always competed, be it competitive archery while out hunting, or simply taking part in the school sports fair. Sport, it would seem, is in our nature, and indeed for the evolutionary geneticist, competition is the very stuff of life.